surgical, and hormonal changes are implemented to change biological gender. Mannerisms in clothing, however, are definitely based in stereotypes. Most people want individuals to fit into a single gender identity, but not all trans people do. There are, of course, people who transition and fit into typical roles, but there are also male to female tomboys and effeminate female to males. Trans people almost have to overplay the stereotypes to fit in, much like drag royalty. For most transgendered people, though, the stereotypes aren't really who they want to be.
Hello there. Let's examine this issue through the 4 quadrants. First, the I quadrant. Do I express my gender through outward appearance and mannerisms? It often takes stereotypes and perceptions of others to create a realistic front of a certain gender. Crossdressers and transgendered people consciously attempt to channel these mannerisms and appearances. If this is what it takes to pass, do people unconsciously choose to act as they are expected to act based on their biological gender as a way to fit in or stand out? Many women feel the pressure to look pretty because it's what's normal. Many men feel that they have to act macho to fit in. Much of this has to do with one's community. However, on a national scale, and because of media ideals, people are imbibed with an underlying sense of what it means to appear and act like their gender. Does my gender affect how I feel? When we feel we fit in and are comfortable with our gender, we don't feel the conflict that transgendered people feel. However, gender affects our emotions in different ways. Okay. Culturally, it's unacceptable for men to be seen showing emotion, where it is very acceptable and almost expected for women to be very emotional. Biologically, testosterone and estrogen produce very different ranges of emotions. Testosterone has been referred to as the hormone of desire, not sexual desire, but desire at all. A man who mysteriously stopped producing testosterone reportedly stopped caring about anything. What he ate, what he did, what he saw. A trans man who, when first started transitioning, injected herself with incredibly high amounts of testosterone, discovered that he was sexually attracted to almost anything, and his daydreams were graphic. He also lost the ability to cry and gained interest in a previously revolting topic, physics. Estrogen, as many women experience, can do crazy things to emotion, specifically when levels drop about once a month.
It quadrant. Do I use cultural cues to deduct or assume the gender of people I see? From what we see in the media, we assume that women are the prettier gender, and that men are the ones going after the prettier gender, i.e. ladies. But how do men and women differ body-wise? There are obvious differences such as overall body shape, facial features, muscle definition, height, etc. And again, there is the measurable list of sex characteristics: external and internal genitalia, hormones, chromosomes XX and XY, secondary sex characteristics such as breasts, facial hair, body hair, and the muscle-to-fat ratio, sexuality, and gender identity. But how are men and women the same? Well, the physical anatomy of men and women, besides the sexual organs, is almost identical, and as such, they can dress in very similar clothing.
In the we quadrant, we have the question, what do we as a culture expect from certain genders? There are many expectations for both genders, both physically and emotionally. Women are held to the roles of being nurturing, caring, emotional, attractive. This last trait is especially visible in today's society. When Hillary Clinton was running against Barack Obama, who do you think got more criticism and more notice about their hairstyle and choice of dress? Clinton, of course. The same goes for almost all public female figures, like Sarah Palin and Michelle Obama. Because it matters so much more to our culture, women are expected to be emotional, but in a strong way. The feminist movement alone has brought our society billions of images and affirming phrases about what it means to be a woman, a kind of we-can-do-it mentality, to be strong and confident. However, this mentality is recent development. Historically, women have been viewed as inferior to men. useful only for domestic tasks, sex, and the bearing and raising of children. In Christian teaching, which pervades much of American cultural values, it is said that women were created as a companion for men, thus never meant to be equal to men. Along the same religious strain, men were created in the image of God, and by proxy, men held a godlike role in society. The expectations of men being breadwinners, intelligent, tough, protectors, and the head of the family and in charge are still present today. In contrast with women, there are far less positive images for male equality aimed at men in the media. Instead, ads encourage men to be strong, suave yet heterosexual, and dominant. A heterosexual man who is effeminate or submissive is ridiculed and disregarded as a male.
How is gender portrayed and influenced by the media? Media influences what people buy and who they buy it for. From before we are born, almost all Americans are destined to be swaddled in a pink or blue blanket for the rest of their lives. Almost every toy and item of clothing made with a gender associated with it. If a toy has the potential to be non-gendered, such as a toy kitchen set, because everyone uses kitchens, it is marketed in a way to assign it with a gender, based on cultural biases. Cultural biases of heteronormality and gender roles are reinforced through every picture of children playing, families bonding, even people setting up a new bank account. How is gender expression variance treated in society? Homosexuality, as an example of a variant of gender expression, has taken a lot of controversy in this country, to the extent that bills have been passed denying them basic rights, such as Proposition 8 and the recall of gay marriage in Maine. Things are advancing towards acceptance every day. However, in our own state, the mayor of Silverton has become out as transgender with mixed results, mostly positive. Often gender variance is viewed as a kind of spectacle or almost freak show by society. Take the pregnant man, for example. He covered the front pages of tabloids and held national attention because of his complete rearranging of gender lines.
Gender!
It's all over the place.
It's part of who you are,
How you dress.
How you feel.
How you act.
what you expect from certain people.
How much of what you do is really you?
How much is what culture dictates to you?
Why do you pick the outfit you're wearing?
Why do you like that special someone?
The external appearance of gender identity is a cultural creation.
Now for our biases.
My bias is that women generally just are more aware of their appearance in society, I guess, as not as much with men.
Despite my best intentions, I tend to judge people on their outward appearances. I suppose it doesn't bother me when people are gender ambiguous. I just like to know what gender they are. So I think that the way in which a person presents themselves to the world usually lets me know who they think they are, so that I can judge who I think they are. I try not to judge, but I do. And however, gender is not necessarily a deciding factor in my relationships, friendly or otherwise, with people. So I suppose I am biased in that I judge people on how they present themselves, but I try not to let this affect my personal relationship with them.
My bias is that I'm transgender, and I consider myself a feminist, and I'm also an activist for queer rights, so I'm more accepting of most things.
My bias is that I've never really given a lot of thought to external appearance, except I do because I feel a lot more comfortable in traditionally feminine clothing, and I definitely bring a harsher judgment to women and the way they dress. But it's really easy to be judgmental, and I think doing this presentation has helped me to see and sort of question my judgment more so.